Good afternoon. Welcome in. It's Where the 99 Lead. Andrew Joyce, joined this afternoon by Dr. Nancy Cade with the University of Pikeville. Where the 99 Lead, we talk about all things regarding the University of Pikeville, academically, athletically, and today we talk with one of the most popular professors on the University of Pikeville campus. She's chair of the Division of Social Science and professor of History and Political Science, Dr. Nancy Cade. Welcome to Where the 99 Lead.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you here, and honestly, as I talk to people at the University of Pikeville, your name comes up. Dr. Cade. And always one of those people that someone has a story to tell about. So you truly are one of the most popular. Unpopular professors don't have stories told on them, at least in a good way.
Okay, I hope so.
Let's talk about your background. When did you arrive at the University of Pikeville?
I came here in the fall of 1986, so I've been here for quite a while. Came here as fresh out of graduate school, got my PhD at Ball State University in both history and political science, and came here to teach and thought I'd be real lucky to stay here for 3 years, and I've been here for 26.
Real lucky for just 3?
Yeah.
Because of culture change?
Well, no, I was hoping to stay long enough to see the school celebrate its 100th birthday. And I thought that would be a very exciting thing to happen. And luckily, I've been here for a few more than that.
A few more than that.
More.
You've seen a lot of changes.
Absolutely.
Talk about some of the changes on campus and around the community since your arrival.
It's been an amazing thing to watch the community grow, change, evolve. One of the things that, of course, has changed the entire scheme of the area is the medical school, which has been a game changer completely for this area and for the university. Watching us change into becoming a university was an exciting change.
Sure.
But when I came here, we're just coming out of some very serious problems with low enrollment and economic difficulties, and to watch the school come out of that, to watch the school grow, has been a very gratifying thing to experience.
You're a professor of history and political
Yes.
science, and that's a popular curriculum on campus. Why is that?
One of the things is that history and political science is seen as the logical training ground for pre-law.
Mm-hmm.
So we produce a lot of lawyers coming out of our programs, and a lot of very well-trained law school students, I like to think.
Sure.
But also history and political science, government is all around us every day. Studying these institutions and the individuals is exciting, it's relevant, it changes constantly. People tend to think of history as studying dead people,
Sure.
but it's not. It's the lives and the experiences of everyday people and the lives and experiences of extraordinary people. And so I enjoy it.
It's not just about dead people. It has its own cable channel.
Yes, it does.
And the History Channel. It's a favorite of a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And history and political science, it is a popular curriculum. Could you talk about maybe some of the students that you've had over the course of those many years and where they've ended up? Because this show, Where the 99 Lead, to campus, but it also leads from campus back into the community and then to the world. I'd love to hear about some of your students.
I've been extraordinarily lucky. I've had students who, I've got a student who is an attorney in Tennessee. He has done some mitigation work in Tennessee. I have an alum who teaches at Somerset Community College, and I'm very proud of her. She got her master's degree in history, and she has become a very successful teacher at the community college level, and I'm extremely proud, like I said, of her.
Sure.
Local lawyers, prosecutors, defenders, got them all on all sides. And we have students in the media. We have a student who's a producer at WIMT. So I've had students that have gone into all kinds of fields.
Let's talk about some of the opportunities that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we talk about law, we talk about pre-law, you talk about teaching, and many other jobs. But if someone's viewing this, they're tuned in and they're thinking about, I'm not sure what I want to major in, and they're considering history or political science, what are some of the opportunities they might find upon graduation?
One of the things, my father was a cemeterian, which means he owns cemeteries.
Sure.
People always wonder what a cemeterian was.
It's a fancy word for grave digger, I hear. Sorry.
Anyway,
it's
he
just
was
a joke.
he owned cemeteries, he owned funeral homes, and he had a rather large corporation. And one of the things he always used to teach me was that when he was looking to hire individuals in his firm, unless he was hiring an accountant, then he wanted somebody with an accounting degree.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted someone who had a well-rounded background, a college education. College shows that they can work well with others.
Mm-hmm.
They have learned how to complete something. They've learned how to write well. They've learned how to analyze. And history teaches you how to analyze. Political science teaches you how to analyze and understand human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And he liked those degrees, though his own degree was in business and economics.
Sure.
He liked people with those kind of degrees. And college prepares you the way we do it at the University of Pikeville, which is a true liberal arts education. It prepares you for the changing job market. You know, it's estimated today that the average college graduate will have 7 different careers in their lifetime. Not 7 different jobs.
Right.
7 different careers,
Sure.
half of which have not even begun to be thought of yet.
Yes.
And so a liberal arts education prepares you to change and to grow. And it exposes you to all kinds of ideas.
Talking with Dr. Nancy Cade, the chair of the Division of Social Science at the University of Pikeville. It's where the 99 lead. And Dr. Cade, you've been very involved with the Washington Center. What is the Washington Center? First of all, for my education, those tuned in, they may already know, but for my education at least.
The Washington Center for Internships and Academic Scholarships is an organization that was created in 1975 by Bill Burke and Sheila Burke in Washington, D.C. to provide internships, obviously, and academic seminars for students around the world. It's been my great fortune to be associated with them since 2004. I'm on their liaison board, which we have liaisons at over 500 different schools and universities around the country.
Wow.
And we take students there from the University of Pikeville for the seminars, but we also have an internship alumni.
Yes.
But they are the largest provider of internships in Washington, D.C., which is a city driven with internships.
Sure.
But we also do academic seminars. And so we have, every January, we do an academic seminar. They're on a 4-year cycle. And so the one coming up in 13 will be an inauguration seminar.
Sure.
And then we'll have a new Congress seminar. We'll have, and they run through, like I said, a 4-year cycle.
Right.
And we do 3 of the 4 years are 2-week seminars. 1 week is politics. 1 week is politics in the media.
Mm-hmm.
And politics in the media, the academic director for the last several years has been Steve Bell, formerly of ABC News and Good Morning America.
Mm-hmm.
And they get speakers, they have site visits, it's an extraordinary opportunity.
I would imagine. Most recent seminar this past January,
Right.
what was the covered?
It was, again, the road to the White House for the first week and politics and media for the second week. And we were fortunate enough to have 4 students from the university there. And 3 of them had never been to a seminar in Washington. One of them was a repeater. He went to the National Security Seminar in May, which is another seminar that the Washington Center does. We also do convention seminars. But they were able to hear some rather extraordinary speakers. They heard Howard Dean and Grover Norquist on the same day.
Wow.
Both quite incredible. They heard Ed Meese at the press club. They were able to go and hear him.
Sure.
And when they hear these speakers, it's not like you might think. These speakers come in and talk to the students for maybe 15 or 20 minutes and then spend the rest of the time answering questions from the students.
Sure.
So they actually get to interact with individuals like Ralph Nader, which you may not get to, you may be able to go hear him speak, but you may not get to interact with him.
Right.
We've had students that went to a luncheon with Ted Kennedy. So we've had some quite extraordinary experiences as far as who they've met. John King and Dana Bash came together from CNN.
Right.
So from all political spectrum, the Washington Center is very much non-political as far as that it goes, nonpartisan, very
Right.
political, but nonpartisan.
Sure.
And we try to make sure that the seminars stay as nonpartisan as possible.
Very good. 2007, you were honored by the Washington Center
Yes.
as Faculty Leader of the Year. Talk about your role as a faculty advisor and mentor.
Every seminar, the students come from all over the world, and the students are divided into small groups, and each small group is assigned to a faculty leader. And I've been fortunate enough to work at 14 different seminars as a faculty leader.
Wow.
I enjoy it a great deal. And what I do is I spend my time facilitating them, helping them in discussion group to assimilate what they've learned. They work with each other, and I've had students literally from all over the world. I've had British students, I've had Pakistani students, I've had students from all over the United States, Hawaii, Alaska, everywhere in our small groups, which is really nice for our students from the University of Pikeville because they get to meet students from other parts of the world, which
Sure.
is a lot of fun for them.
Right.
But I then go on their site visits with them, which may be to an embassy or to, this time we went to the Election Commission, and among other places.
Sure.
And we go to a different place every day. And I take the students there, and then I also grade their work because it is an academic seminar, and they do get 3 hours credit for the January seminar.
Very good.
It is quite rigorous.
Very good. Talking with Dr. Nancy Cade, Professor of History and Political Science at the University of Pikeville. And the Washington Center Partnership, of course, you're involved as a faculty advisor, and it's provided tremendous opportunities for students at the University of Pikeville. You talk about conventions, inaugurations, and seminars on national security. What are those experiences like for the students outside of being able to hear speakers, but being able to attend an inauguration or a convention?
There's a saying called "touching the bones" that I learned from Dr. Ross Baker from Rutgers, who is someone I work with on these seminars. And what Dr. Baker means is being able to actually get involved with things. When
Sure.
the students go to the conventions, for example, one of my students a few years ago, not from University of Pikeville, actually, he's from Ole Miss, worked as a cameraman's assistant for CNN.
Right.
And that's part of what they do is they are allowed field work at the conventions. And he was able to meet every single person that CNN interviewed. And it helps them to learn more about themselves. But probably the most profound, to me, experience of a student was a student that we had that graduated last year. Her name is Elizabeth Mosley. And she went to a couple of different seminars.
Yes.
And one of her side trips on her own time was to go to the National Archives.
Right.
And she talked about looking at the documents. Elizabeth is an extraordinary young woman and very interested in history and political science, and she's going to be a great teacher someday.
Yes.
And she talked about standing in front of the documents and seeing them for the first time and crying.
Wow.
Because they meant so much to her and they were so real. And to be able to be part of that experience is what makes teaching, it takes teaching to a whole new level.
Absolutely.
So,
Just as education, maybe in a classroom, might touch the skin, maybe get to the muscles, but an educational experience like that truly to the bones.
absolutely.
And reaches to the soul. Talking with Dr. Nancy Cade, Professor of History and Political Science at the University of Pikeville, and your partnership with the Washington Center, tremendous opportunities for students. In addition to conventions and inaugurations, students get to meet policymakers. They get to meet national leaders, journalists as well. Who are some of the people that we haven't mentioned yet that these students have had a chance to meet and talk with?
Some of the more interesting people they've gotten to meet, you may not recognize the names. For example, Chuck Rosenberg, somebody that you probably aren't familiar with the name, but he was one of the people involved in the prosecution of the 9/11 remaining hijackers and,
Right.
and things like that. His story was extraordinary. He brought to us his closing argument that he made for Moussaoui. The students got to see something and got to hear something that no one else gets to see and hear,
Right.
except those in the courtroom. So that was quite extraordinary. They got into the National Counterterrorism Center, which is a place you cannot Google the location of.
Right.
And we were allowed to take our students in there. We spent an entire day there,
Wow.
meeting with the director of the National Counterterrorism Center and among others. And so they meet extraordinary people, like I said, like Ted Kennedy or a Ralph Nader or a Grover Norquist,
Yeah.
or Brian Lamb of C-SPAN, the founder of C-SPAN, or Mike Pence, who a lot of people have been talking about as a potential presidential nominee on the Republican side in a few years. They meet those people, but
Those are life-changing.
Those are life-changing, but they also meet some of the ones that the names aren't recognizable,
Right.
but the titles are.
Sure.
Or the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff came and spoke to our classes.
Right.
I mean, that's extraordinary that we can get speakers like that who are willing to come and speak to us. If you saw the picture from the night they got bin Laden,
Yes.
if you saw the picture there of the president and the vice presidents in there, it's very famous. Hillary has her hand over her mouth. And,
Right.
and two of the people in that picture spoke to our students that summer.
Wow.
So, including John Brennan and one of the young advisors. So they meet some incredible people.
Sure. It's not the kind of people that you can bring to campus.
No, you
on a
can't.
regular basis.
No, you can't. You can only get them in Washington or at the conventions.
Sure. And of course through the Washington Center. Sounds like a great partnership. And I can tell a certain passion that you have
Absolutely.
for the program. You established a Washington Center scholarship in honor of your father. Mm-hmm. Means that much to you.
Yes, it does.
Let's talk about that and how students might qualify for that scholarship.
The university has 35 Washington Center alumni. Some of them have gone on multiple programs. Some of them have received scholarships and then gone later on their own, paid their own way, which I think speaks quite a bit.
Sure.
But we started out with a partnership with the Appalachian College Association, which only lasted a few years. And we were able to send 13 students that way. But these programs are expensive. The convention is close to $5,000. But it includes housing
Right.
and things like that. So, and
2 weeks worth.
yeah, and when you're staying in, for example, in Washington D.C., we stay in 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments for 4 students, so it's not bad.
Right.
But the January seminars are around $2,000 each, and that's a very expensive proposition
Sure.
for a lot of students. And so originally, I made a deal with the dean and the president of the college a few years ago, back in 2007, that if they would sponsor one scholarship, I would sponsor at least one more, and usually 2 or 3 more. And that was part of the deal. And the other part of the deal was that it would stay anonymous. And so for the first several years, it was done anonymously because I was uncomfortable with it. In 2010, January 2010, my father died. And he had been instrumental in getting me involved in politics. He loved education.
Yes.
And he left me enough money that I could do this.
Yes.
And so I decided to rename the scholarships, go public with it, and name them after my father. And so I've been fortunate enough to have partnered with the school for 25 scholarships.
Wow.
So it's been quite a joy for me.
And the scholarship's called?
The scholarship is Fred W. Meyer Jr. Washington Center Scholars.
Very good.
And so it's named after my dad. And the way the students qualify is every year we decide how many scholarships there are going to be, and it depends on the price of the seminar and things like that. But this year, for example, there were 4. And it's advertised, it's open to every student on campus.
Sure.
But they have to be currently enrolled, and they have to be coming back. So in January, they have to be enrolled for the spring semester.
Right.
Okay, because that way they can continue to talk about it to other students, which builds your interest level.
Sure, share the
And
experience.
they write an essay on why the school should send them to the Washington Center for the seminar. And it's judged by a panel of judges. And they give their recommendations to me. And then we announce who is getting to go.
Very good.
And it's selected blindly, so someone can win more than one scholarship
Right.
because they're not automatically eliminated.
Sure.
But again, they have to be in good standing and things like that. But it's been a great joy, and the students all talk about it being a life-changing experience.
I would imagine. Of course, not just qualifying for the scholarship, but the Washington Center programs. Maybe they want to pay their own way. What type of qualifications? How would they meet those guidelines?
I work with the Washington Center as the liaison from the school. So if a student wants to go to a seminar, which we've had several pay their own way, they go online, they can look at, it's twc.edu. They can go on and see what the scholarship requirements are, or the seminar requirements are, because some seminars have different requirements. Generally, we do not send freshmen. We like them to have a little bit more academic experience under their belt before they get there.
Sure.
It makes it a lot easier for them. But the other thing is, if they have just graduated, they can still go. They can pay their own way and then go at a discount.
Right.
So there's a lot of angles to it. They just need to contact me, and I will figure out how to get them there.
It's a great program. What's the next Washington Center seminar opportunity available to you and your students?
The next will be the Republican and Democratic conventions. We do 2-week programs at each one.
Yes.
I have been fortunate enough to work a Democrat and a Republican convention, and I volunteered to work either or both. It doesn't matter to me which political side I'm on. Conventions are an extraordinary experience. I've had friends of mine talk to me about, you don't know what a convention is like until you've attended one.
Yes.
And you can teach about it, you can read about it, you can study about it, but until you're there, you don't know what it's like. And it's absolutely true.
Yes.
Being in Boston and being in Minneapolis, St. Paul was extraordinary, and I'm looking forward to either one or both.
The differences between the Democratic and Republican conventions, were there any?
Yes and no. I mean, the Democratic conventions tend to have bigger parties. That
Okay.
they just do. But the Republican convention this time was interesting because of the Sarah Palin nomination,
Right.
and the events that happened with that. So it was equally interesting, just different.
Yeah. Talking with Dr. Nancy Cade of the University of Pikeville, today's edition of Where the 99 Lead. Nancy Cade, a professor of history and political science at the University of Pikeville, and we all know the History Channel, some tremendous series that they've put together, and they've been working on a drama series, we understand, about the Hatfields and McCoys.
Yes.
It's coming our way, I guess, later this year. And Kevin Costner, that's a big name, will play Devil Anse Hatfield. Bill Paxton will play Randall McCoy.
Right.
Talk about your involvement in that project and how that came to be.
Out of the blue, earlier in the fall, I got a phone call from a gentleman by the name of Daryl Fetty. I'd never met Daryl. Gotten to know him pretty well now, but I'd never met him at that point. And he said he was working with the History Channel on a film on the Hatfields and McCoys. Now, I get phone calls like this on a fairly regular basis, people asking about things, and I just kind of, yeah, sure, and didn't pay much attention to it, but I thought, well, I'll Google it and see if it's for real. And
Right.
I discovered that it was for real. And called him back, and he asked me if it would be possible for me to host one of the principals, and who wanted to get familiar with the area, and if I would be able to host him secretly without
Sure.
anybody knowing he was here, and show him the sites of the of the feud and help him to learn a little bit about just get an idea of the physical geography and also a bit of the accent because
Right.
he wanted to do this well. And so I said, sure, and I ended up hosting Bill Paxton,
Yes.
which was a great deal of fun. I immediately contacted my colleague, Steve Budney, and we had more fun than two people should be allowed, showing Bill around the area, working with him, introducing him to people. I remember taking him to Jerry's for lunch and
Yes.
he was talking to Stella, and he absolutely loved her accent.
Well, sure.
And she figured out who he was. And then the waiter at Cherico's also figured out, the waitress at Cherico's figured out who he was.
Yes.
And we took him to the football game. Nobody recognized him because he had a beard. And so we were able to spend 2 days with him, showing him around
Right.
and helping him get familiar with the area. Well, I figured I was done at that point. And then Daryl Fetty called me again, and he's one of the producers of the History Channel film miniseries, and he is also working on a documentary. He's actually from Huntington, West Virginia,
Right.
and he wants to do the story well.
Sure.
He wants to treat the area with respect.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked if I would get involved with a documentary that they were making to support it. And I said, sure. And so I spent 2 days, again, got Dr. Budney involved, and we spent a couple of days showing a film crew around the area so they could get what they were calling beauty shots,
Right.
that were going to be used both in the miniseries and in the documentary.
Sure.
And then they came back, and we've spent 3 days with them filming interviews. I did quite a few interviews myself, and then also we've interviewed Hatfields, we've interviewed McCoys, we've
Right.
interviewed all kinds of people, and I've been working with them on all of that. And one thing that was kind of interesting is the gentleman who did the second set of interviews just a few days ago actually is the man who did the interviews with the Band of Brothers. He was the one who interviewed all of the surviving Band of Brothers,
Wow.
which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So it's been a great experience. They have been wonderful to work with. You never know how things are going to turn out,
Sure.
but I hope that they treat the story and the area with respect. But I'm pretty sure that there are going to be people that are going to be upset on both sides.
Yes.
They always are.
I would think so. It's still a feud today.
It's still, there's still a certain sensitivity about the way the
Yes.
area is treated.
Yes.
And I like the fact that the people that are filming it are from the area.
Right.
So.
Very good. That's coming on the History Channel this fall.
No, actually, the miniseries is going to be debuting Memorial Day weekend. I
Very
just
good.
found out.
Do you know the title?
Just Hatfields and McCoys. The
Hatfields.
trailer is on. There is a trailer for it on the History Channel right now
Very
on
good.
YouTube. But the documentary, don't know when that's coming out.
Very good. Dr. Nancy Cade, Chair of the Division of Social Science, Professor of History and Political Science at the University of Pikeville, our guest today on Where the 99 Lead. Great show today. Very interested in the Washington Center. Didn't realize what it was and what it does, but it seems like it brings great opportunities to our students at the university. And if someone would like to learn more about that, or maybe they have a student who's looking at the University of Pikeville, they're interested in history and political science, they'd just like to talk with someone, how could they get in touch?
Just send me an email at Nancy Cade, NancyCade, at upike.edu, and I answer my emails fairly quickly.
Very good. Thanks so much for being on
Thank
today.
you.
It's been our pleasure. Dr. Nancy Cade, our guest on Where the 99 Lead. It's a program about the University of Pikeville where we talk all things University of Pikeville. Thanks for tuning in.